Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, we talk with another USDA Undersecretary, this time Bill Northey. We talk about the Market Facilitation Program implementation and what the future holds with that program, plus other things he oversees at USDA. We also have features from the Kansas Soybean Commission and Kansas Department of Agriculture, and our weekly updates from the Kansas Livestock Association and Paragon Ag Advisors. The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919, kfb.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn. Online, kscorn.com. Well, in agriculture news, lawmakers returned to D.C. this week with a need to still find a path forward on the Farm Bill. But multiple measures like the 2019 appropriation bills need to also be passed in this lame duck session. The House scheduled to leave on Thursday, December the 13th. The Senate is scheduled to adjourn on Friday, December the 14th. Now, Congress could stay a little longer if necessary, and this end-of-the-year business is not complete by those target dates. Leaders of both the House and Senate Ag committees say they still hope to finish a farm bill this session, but have not shown much signs of reaching any sort of final agreement. Iowa's Chuck Grassley has hinted that the Farm Bill might be added to the appropriations bill so that the House leadership would not have to bring it up as a separate piece of legislation. Well, this summer, Cargill launched the Put Your Herd First campaign to support the Great American Milk Drive. More than 65,000 people engaged with the campaign on Facebook, and Cargill has now announced that all 200 food banks in the Feeding America network will receive 500 servings of milk through the campaign. Cargill says that each year 46 million people, including 12 million children, rely on Feeding America, those food banks, for regular access to milk, which is one of the most requested but least donated items. Now, on average, the food banks are only able to provide the equivalent of less than 1 gallon of milk per person per year. Well, Tyson Foods, the largest U.S. food company, is offering up its predictions for food trends in the coming year, noting that years past led to things like avocado toast and others, including the Polk Bowl of this year. Well, 2019, no specific dish or item was identified, but Tyson said there are several key trends to focus on. Those include personalized foods to promote health and beauty, transparent food production, adding more proteins in more forms, harnessing the power of smart technology in food, as well as creating food as a form of self-expression and a fusion of global cuisines at home. Well, this year, to identify the top trends, the company created the Tyson Trendsetters Council, made up of a dozen of company's top food thinkers and innovators. Now, that would be an interesting job to have, a food thinker. Well, when we return, a conversation with USDA Undersecretary Bill Northey on the Kansas Ag Report. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web, oldeseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. More at ksgrainsorghum.org. It's our pleasure now to be joined by Bill Northey, who is one of the undersecretaries for USDA, of course, a past Director of Agriculture for the state of Iowa as well. So, Bill, I know it was a long time coming, but it seems like once you got confirmed, you've just been running.
I have. Certainly there were a lot of folks who were doing a lot of good work there, but learning a lot and engaging. We got great people. Lots of programs that matter to producers. Our mission area is Farm Service Agency, so farm programs, NRCS, conservation programs, cost share programs, as well as RMA, so all the crop insurance programs. We have 22,000 people. We're putting these agencies together for the first time, building an administrative unit that addresses all the administrative activities, as well as Market Facilitation Program is new. We have a wildfire hurricane indemnity program. Hope that we'll have a farm bill soon as well. So lots of moving pieces. And I try and get out of the office maybe at least a third of the time. I've been to 27 states, try to get to county offices, listen to producers. So lots of things going on.
Well, there is. Market Facilitation Program. I was talking to some local as well as some state folks where, while we'd like to see a farm bill done, we're glad to see the Market Facilitation Program, at least that first phase through, because trying to get all that done would just put a ton of stress on the locals. So we'll talk about the Market Facilitation Program. What we're hearing from the countryside is it's working.
You know, it's tough to get a program just right to impact all producers, and certainly people have argued about rates or whether commodities are all covered like they should or not. But it has been fairly straightforward for folks to implement. We want your 2018 production. Tell us the total number. Don't tell us field by field. We don't need that. Don't tell us bin by bin. We want total production. We'll multiply that times the early rate for the first half of that production, a later rate that's probably 3 weeks away or so for the second half of that production. You don't need to come back into the office again. So ease of implementation was important to our county offices as well as to our producers. Whether we got rate right or not, whether there are a lot of other things out there that folks can argue about, but implementing it in a way that can get dollars to producers as quick as we can was important, and I think we hit that pretty well for most producers out there.
And the Secretary came out just a few days ago and said, yes, we're going to have that second phase. I know at one time, if things had turned, maybe not, but that's also going to be coming soon.
It is. We should have a rate announced here in the next 3 weeks or so. At least that's what our target is. That'll be the second half, and then we intend for this program to go away because we do intend to be able to have those tariffs resolved and back to a place where we don't need that for 2019. This is a one-time program to address the producers that are impacted by tariffs this time around.
We're talking with Undersecretary Bill Northey. We'll be back with more in just a moment on the Kansas Ag Report. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. And AgView.net, covering news and views in the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt. Reliable and relevant, AgView.net. Let's continue our conversation with USDA Undersecretary Bill Northey. And Bill, we talked to market facilitation. There's a whole lot of other things. We will have a farm bill. We also have some other things that from the last farm bill we're still trying to get implemented. It's a process where once a bill is passed, implementation takes a long time.
It does. It's a 5-year farm bill. For the most part, we were kind of hitting our stride here, so now we've got to look. I hope we get a chance to get this farm bill done in this lame duck session, and then we'll be looking at implementing ARC PLC provisions and any changes Congress does for 2019. We'll have a sign-up period as well. We'll have margin protection, which is the dairy support program that we'll need to be able to implement any changes as well and have that sign up in 2019, probably early, but after the coverage will already have started. That'll start January 1. CRP, any kind of changes that happen there, and any sign up as soon as we can get that going as well. So several different pieces to put in place, sign up that needs to happen. We are not looking at likely a farm bill that will have a lot of changes. But we'll have tweaks, and they'll be a little different, and folks will need to be able to look at those. We'll need to get those done and questions answered, so folks at the counter can answer the question, how is this different than what we got used to?
Natural Resource Conservation Service also is in your purview. those folks, boy, they're working hard.
They are, and the nice thing about it, most of our NRCS programs is they're able to address local concerns. We try and look at how an EQIP program works for Northeast Ohio, just like it works for Southeast Kansas or for Northern California, and that provides some flexibility. We need to be able to have flexibility in our messaging as well, but our programs need to have flexibility to be able to work too.
Another program in your purview, the RMA, Risk Management Agency, insurance, it seems like there's always something, kind of a little tweak being added there all the time.
And we need to. We have, my understanding is about 551 crops that are covered in crop insurance, and yet not all the ones we need to have. You look at trees that were just hit in the last hurricane, pecan trees in southern Georgia. We don't have a great tree policy that works for producers, so we have very little coverage. That's, I'm sure, why there'll be some effort to look at a disaster program. We've looked at citrus in California and in Florida, and we're trying to improve that policy. We're always looking at, are the cover crop provisions correct for the Midwest and the Southern Plains. So lots of issues to work on there, but a program that for the most part people like, and they've said don't change it, and that's why there's very little differences between the House and Senate in the crop insurance program.
All right, Bill, always good to catch up with you. Thanks again for what you do for America's farmers, and I know getting off the farm is a bit of a challenge, I'm sure, but doing well. So
thank you.
Bill Northey, Undersecretary at USDA, has joined us. Stay with us. We'll have more coming up.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow Research Program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
The United Soybean Board, National Corn Growers Association, and National Pork Board have signed a memorandum of understanding on a sustainability research platform that will benefit all three organizations and their farmers. The program will include sharing completed research, coordinating current and planned research, and defining ways to share and communicate results with each other. Leaders from the three groups agreed it is prudent to consider specific ways in which they might work together more effectively to ensure alignment and collaboration in sustainability research and how the results can and will be communicated and shared. An overarching goal of proactive, continuous improvement is a shared focus among soybean, corn, and pork producers. Through combined communications efforts and outreach, the organizations can increase the education, capacity, and motivation of grain and pig farmers to adopt conservation measures that deliver benefits to the environment and to farm resilience and profitability. USB, NCGA, and NPB will form a task force of farmer representatives. It will be responsible for managing and evaluating the activities outlined in the MOU with support from each organization. The task force also will track progress and evaluate the understanding's value and effects upon completion of all activities. For more information, visit kansassoybeans.org/sustainability on the web.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow Research Program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
For 3 years, Kansas agriculture has been focused on growth through the Ag Growth Project and the Ag Growth Summits, knowing that growth in agriculture is key to growing the Kansas economy. And it's clear that Kansas communities are eager for new investment in agriculture as well as other areas. So last July, Governor Collier announced the launch of Land in Kansas, a new economic development initiative that will function as a comprehensive, multi-agency approach to economic growth. One thing we've learned throughout the Ag Growth Project is that from community to community, growth looks very different. As part of Land in Kansas, the Kansas Department of Agriculture is leading a strategic growth initiative pilot program that will turn the traditional economic development model around and make it a partnership where the communities identify their best opportunities for growth. The strategic growth initiative starts by asking communities how they want to grow and what they have to offer. What are their desired growth goals, including identification of specific sectors of interest for that community? And what are their resources and assets, from workforce and training opportunities to land and water resources? So far, more than a dozen counties and communities from across the state have submitted a package to participate in the Strategic Growth Initiative, and they will move to the next step beginning in mid-December of working in partnership to proactively recruit companies in key industries that have the potential for growth that fit the needs and desires of those local communities. But although the process will begin with the communities who submitted packages this fall, communities are encouraged to submit packages to the ongoing program. This coordinated strategic effort toward economic development will begin as a pilot program for the food and agriculture industry, then be expanded to other sectors to achieve the economic growth that opens the door to an even more prosperous future for the state of Kansas. Go to agriculture.ks.gov/growag to learn more.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News. A reliable and relevant source, agview.net.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil. And the decision continues, improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns? And how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Hamey Family Farm and Ranch of Scott City has been named the winner of the 2018 Kansas Leopold Conservation Award. Presented November 19th in Wichita, the $10,000 award recognizes landowner achievement in the field of voluntary conservation. For more than 40 years, the Hamey family has adopted conservation practices that have enhanced profitability, soil health, water quality, and wildlife habitat. Stacy Hamey and his son, Caston, farm and ranch along the Smoky Hill River and in Scott County. Limited tillage and crop rotation practices have helped the family improve soil health and manage water usage. They developed a cattle grazing program that recognizes the prairie requires grazing and rest periods to maintain natural productivity. The Hameys were among the first ranchers in western Kansas to protect water quality by fencing off ponds and using solar power to pump water to livestock. The diverse collection of plants in the Hamey pastures supports some of the largest known populations and densities of the lesser-known prairie chicken in the bird's natural range. Land owned by the Hameys was the focal point of the largest study ever conducted on lesser prairie chickens. Insights gained from these studies have influenced how government, conservation partners, and other landowners manage the landscape for wildlife. The Kansas Leopold Award was presented by the Sand County Foundation, Ranchland Trust of Kansas, and the Kansas Association of Conservation Districts.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919, kfb.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn. Online, kscorn.com.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News. A reliable and relevant source, agview.net.
Good morning. I'm Derek Hermish with Paragon Ag. When shopping for a vehicle, most people do their best to gather information and get a comparison on values so they know whether they're getting a good deal or not. The same can be said when you're shopping your grain to sell when looking at basis values. And this is important now that harvest is, for the most part, gotten done. Here in our local market at the Topeka grain facilities, basis has improved roughly 40 cents since the harvest lows right around October 1st. And that is a sizable improvement for any year, but this year in particular, where production was a little bit shorter than some in the years past, and it may not be that way in every location, certainly. But it is a sizable improvement when you consider that the futures price hasn't moved much more than 40 cents on its own in the given range that we've had. But a lot of folks don't necessarily catch all that if you're not watching basis and futures separately, and they don't have to be locked at the same time. You can do a futures at the different time than what you can do the basis. So as a reminder, especially for folks in our local area, and especially if you have corn in commercial storage, it's certainly worth looking at. But all of this, you won't know if you're getting a good deal or not if you're not paying attention on a regular basis. And that's day to day, maybe just week to week, but certainly year to year, to know when those values seasonally improve and when they have improved a lot, that you know that you are getting a good deal. And pay attention. I'm Derek Kermish. Have a good day.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source, agview.net. Well, that's this week's show. It is a busy time of the year, and so over the next few weeks we'll be at several state organization annual meetings, and we'll bring you newsmakers and neighbors who are working all for the betterment of agriculture. Good luck with those finishing up harvest, and you can be social with us online, KansasAgReport.net, on Facebook and Twitter as well. We also are in podcast form, castbox.fm, search Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching the Kansas Ag Report. We'll see you next week.